Judge Mathis just surgically broke down why you are a dummy if you don't believe that Nolan Wells was murdered in cold blood. After all the evidence that have came out, if you still believe that Nolan Wells accidentally drowned, there's something wrong with you.
It's your boy SF520, man. As you heard, this is a video about Nolan Wells. Now we got Judge Mathis on the case. Actually, I don't know if he's on the case, but he's sharing his opinion on what he thinks happened to Nolan Wells. There's a couple of videos that happened. I think there's another video of the friend saying something that seemed a little off. I didn't watch the video yet, but I've seen a lot of like the titles of the videos. I think that's what happened. Something that the friend said it doesn't match up. I should watch the video. Maybe I'm gonna connect that video to this one. Um, but let's just see what Mathis had to say about this case, man. There's more to this case than we know. Um, it just didn't seem right from the beginning. As when I first heard it and when I first saw the video, it just, I don't know what it was, but it just like seemed off. And now it seems like there's more evidence to it being like foul play. Um, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to connect the other video if Flock don't talk about it or put it in this video. This is my first time seeing this video, so I don't know. Let's get to it.
And I don't know what it is, you gotta figure it out. He broke down two crucial pieces of information: the bruise that was found on the back of Nolan Wells' head, and then the audio from the boat.
How you feel about this second autopsy that was done on Nolan Wells?
Yes, I think when we last spoke, we were awaiting the forensic autopsy because the original autopsy performed by the county examiner, we just weren't convinced it would be independent, quite frankly, because we weren't getting enough information from law enforcement. And so the forensic autopsy came back. And lo and behold, even though they're trying to downplay it, and I understand Ben Crump and NAACP and others don't want to try and jump to conclusion or step too far out, but the forensic autopsy showed that there was what they call discoloration. No, I call them bruises in the back of the head, appearing that someone has had their hand pressed at the back of their head, at the back of Nolan's head. That's concerning to me.
And what's even more concerning is when the autopsy sent over their notes to the independent autopsy that they took Nolan Wells' body to, they had notes. And from these set of notes, they'll figure out which bruises, which cuts was caused by the original autopsy, so they know to ignore it. When they checked their notes, the original autopsy failed to reveal there was a bruise at the back of Nolan Wells' head. The independent autopsy, they found the bruise and they reported it. But here's the thing though, we still don't have Nolan Wells' cause of death yet, because for it to be drowning, the lungs got to be waterlogged. Well, the original autopsy never sent over the lungs. Well, the original autopsy did theirs first. So if you did yours first, wouldn't you have the opportunity to run all the tests and do everything you got to do with the lungs before you sent over the body? Well, they never sent the lungs with the body. So the independent autopsy was unable to determine the cause of death. It was inconclusive.
You've had different stories.
It sounds like they didn't do everything they were supposed to do. Because if new evidence is coming off of the autopsy, then that means that they didn't explore everything throughout the body. If there's something that's behind the neck that seems like coloration, which could be like somebody pressing their hand or maybe a rope tie. Well, actually, I don't know if it's only from the back. It could be somebody pressed the hand or something was pressed to the back of his head, that should be noticed by somebody who's doing the autopsy. It shouldn't take another group of people looking at the body to be like, "Hey, there's something behind the head." Not only that, if we want to rule it as a drowning, why have the I forgot what he just said, but basically, in order to rule it as a drowning, they had to find, I guess, water in the lungs, which would prove that he had drowned and he didn't die before the drowning. Um, but how come those things are not sent in if you had the first go at it? You know what I'm saying? Why are it additional things? And it's not little things like maybe a teeth or something else. It's like the back of his neck is discolored. That should be shown straight off the straight off the rip. Like, you should have known that. For somebody to have their hand in back of somebody's neck, is going to show on both sides of the neck, like on each side, because you're like, especially a guy's hand is big. So a guy's hand behind someone's neck, you can see it on each side of the whole back of the neck. So I'm like, what what's going on? It sounds more like sloppy work.
Coming out from the teenagers. One of the young men himself spoke out about it, claiming they had begged Nolan to get on the boat, and that he wouldn't. Then there's the woman that he's supposed to have stayed back with. I think her name Katie or something. Well, he was supposed to have stayed back with Katie. That was their story. However, Katie's friend says that she saw him only in passing on the island, didn't stay with him, and Katie isn't saying anything at all.
That's an element that I also missed as well regarding the friend. Now, I think the friend he's talking about is Katie's sister. The older sister is kind of downplaying to the extent in which Katie and Nolan Walsh was hanging out. But the Katie portion of this, which we have to cover because the Katie portion like directly debunks the friend's story, right? They claim that Katie will be their alibi, that Katie saw them leave without Nolan. Katie says, "No, I didn't. The last time I seen Nolan was when y'all was calling him over." Right? So we're being...
It sounds like y'all don't got your story straight, man. Katie, like, I'm not going to take a fall for nobody. Katie is not trying to take a fall for nobody. You feel me? She's like, hey, I didn't. Hey, don't say I saw somebody. You feel me? So whatever is going, like, how are the story is just bouncing around. The friend saying something, Katie saying something, her sister saying something different. It's like, was he with y'all or not? Like, this is just a yes or no question, bro. Was he with you or not? How come everybody who have parts to play in the story have different stories to tell? It's crazy.
put in a position where we got to look at a bruise in the back of his head, and that bruise could be anything, right? That bruise could be something that Nolan Walsh already had. That could have been something where somebody like knocked Nolan Walsh unconscious. Yo, we just seen a video where another man just got arrested for murder, where he knocked out a man and then threw him in the water while the man was unconscious. Was that bruise in the back of Nolan Walsh's head a bruise from him being knocked unconscious, then they threw him in the water too? Who knows? But we're being put in a position that I think is very unfair. It's very unfair. Where we're being asked to ignore bruises on the body, autopsies like damn near being sabotaged because the lungs were not sent over and the throat was not sent over. The audio where we're hearing people talk about Nolan being dead. The phone being with the friend. We're asked to ignore every red sign there is and be, I guess, as optimistic as you could be in a situation, which is at least he was not murdered. At least he did not die, like forcefully, right? But I don't know, bro. I'm not believing it at all. And I think a judge who his literal job was to make decisions for the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 decades, I think that judge will be able to look at this and make a judgment call that's at least credible, right? Now, if you disagree with the judge, you like disagree. But this nonsense of any skepticism is uncredible, that's out the window.
So it's a lot of moving parts here. And I'm just hoping it's not one of those, quite frankly, and if his friends didn't have anything to do with it and they truly left him behind, etc., etc., he has discoloration, bruises on the back of his neck. Something happened. And quite frankly, this is Mississippi, where in 1955, which sparked the civil rights movement, Emmett Till was killed for so-called whistling at a white woman. And now we're hearing Nolan Wells stayed back to be with a white woman. And he turns up dead with bruises behind his neck.
Yeah, I'll be the first to tell you, like, let's not talk about, stuff that happened in history. But the way he just said that, it sounds like history repeating itself a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm normally not the type to be like that. Normally, I'm the type to just look at it like this information for what it is, and not try to spark any type of revolt by saying certain things. But the way he said it, the story is just not fitting right, bro. And I'm not saying anything about something actually happening because I don't know. I wasn't there. So allegedly. But this story don't sound right though. I'm just going by like how the story sounds. It doesn't sound right. Like he goes with you to this island party. Nobody seemed to know or been hanging out with him. Everybody seen him in passing or had left him. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's saying, "Oh no, 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 it's not me," and everybody is pretty much pointing the finger to somebody else. Meanwhile, the Nolan was there. He did go with y'all. He was in the party, and he ended up getting murdered around there, like there. So what happened? You feel me? Nobody seemed to know what happened. Everybody seemed to know their story. They're sticking to it. The story is not fitting right. It don't sound right, though. It really don't. And the way he just fit Emmett Till in that, I don't know, man. It sounded a little sticky.
That's the context I'm putting this in. It's Emmett Till, perhaps, all over.
Wow. So you feel like the dynamics between Nolan Wells and Emmett Till is similar?
Well, the dynamics are the same. He's with a white woman, or allegedly said something with, or however you view it, with a white woman, and there's a suspicion that white men killed him. And that was the case with Emmett Till. He so-called whistled as a kid. 13 was he? Whistled so-called the woman at the store. White woman says he whistled at her. What happened?
Right.
White men killed him.
Right.
And that's why I'm making that analogy. But it could altogether be untrue. But I'm making the analogy as a possibility. And that is the case of my thought processes.
So it was actually bruises behind his neck.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, what else? Why is it only there in the back of your neck, which is coincidentally how you drown somebody? You put the head in the back of the neck, not let them up, and they try and push up, but you got the head down, so the head bruises in the back of the neck because somebody tried to hold it down, or did hold it down.
Again, this is why you need a judge.
Hey man, he's cooking a little bit. You feel me? He's cooking a little bit. It does it like It's funny how Matt's story sounds more straight, more like realistic than the story that is being given. It's crazy how he's the story that he's putting together. Everything's alleged, by the way. Sounds more accurate, more straight, more realistic, easy to swallow than what is being given on the ends of the friends and the girl that he's supposed to be with. And the funny thing is, it's a party, bro. It had to be like more than 10 people there. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody. We're not talking about a small get together amongst close friends. This is supposed to be a party on an island. Nobody knows. Okay. Everything's alleged, by the way.
Yo, bro, I'm so like barbaric. I'm going for the knock him out with a club, throw him in the water. But no, the judge is saying, no, you would have bruises in the back of your neck because somebody had their hand on your neck and they pushed you in the water until you drowned.
Right.
Come on. Come
Right.
on. Come on. And here's the thing. They will say, what's the proof of this? What's the proof? Y'all just said it without proof. Okay. What is your explanation for everything then? Right? Since us who were not there, we're asked to provide undoubtable proof, even though all we literally have is theories because we were not present, right? So now let me ask you guys, okay, can you guys explain the bruises in the back of his neck? All right, cool. Can y'all explain the audio that y'all called fake until TMZ posted it, even though Chronicle Speaks and other independent creators posted that audio first? Okay, no, you can't explain that? Okay, cool. Can you explain why Warren said that Katie would back up their story, but then Katie said the last time she seen Nolan was when they was calling him over? Can you explain the contradiction between Katie and Warren's story? No? Okay. Well, damn. It looks like y'all don't have an explanation or an answer for none of the things that look bad when it comes to y'all argument, but somehow y'all want us to psychologically break down and show you guys listen, man. Because
Funny thing is, it's not even supposed to be that way. It's a clear-cut answer. Was he with you? Yes? No. You feel me? And if it's the truth, it shouldn't be different from what you're saying happened and what Katie's saying happened. You saying he went to be with her and y'all left him. She's saying, nah, the last time she saw him when y'all called him over. So which one is it? Which one is it? Was she with him? Were y'all with him? And if that's the case, what happened? It's literally clear cut easy. It's just that the answers that's being given, the stories that's being given, makes it more difficult than it is. Meanwhile, Mathis is coming here like like basically telling us a side of a story. Well, alleged side. I don't want to get nobody in trouble. That seems more like truthful. It seems like something that could actually happen, right? Compared to the story that we got from the people. The people that was there. And again, for a party with nobody coming forward and saying anything, a party that was on an island, yeah, it just not sitting right. It's just not sitting right. And I'm not saying what Mantis said is true. Everything's alleged. But certain things you just can't ignore. You cannot ignore certain things.
because we weren't there, all we really have is context clues, and we got to piece it together. It's simple as that. But you guys are unwilling to engage with all the evidence that kind of shows this kid was murdered. Simple as that. Now, Judge Mathis also touched on the audio that got released. And here's what he had to say about the audio.
I did not know that existed. And if this is authentic radio transmission between the dispatcher and the caller, then certainly this turns it on its head. They're observing him injured, asking if he's dead. Whoever on that call, with the technology we have now and with interviews amongst the folks who were there, or the phone that the emergency call came from, the dispatcher has that number. Someone can get it. Then you'll go to the person who made the call and say, what did you see? This is real easy if that is the case. So we'll see what they do with this evidence. The fact that there's some audio from the dispatcher where the person calling ask, or in the background, one or the other, ask, oh my God, is he dead?
Oh.
So that's a whole new level of evidence that I'm interested in seeing where they go with that. And perhaps that's what the prosecutor may have all of this information and say, we're not sharing it because we don't want to bias. We don't want to create bias, et cetera, in the case, because in the media, have it, and she may have that. She may have that and take it right to the grand jury. That's what I'm hoping, if they don't disclose it to the widespread media this week.
Here's why I don't believe that. Now, it's one thing if you say, hey, we're not going to share the thorough investigation we're doing that's going to bring answers to Nolan Wells' death. We're not going to share that with the public, but you're not going to share that with Nolan's mama? You're not going to share that with, I don't care if they have hired like Benjamin Crumb. I don't care if they have hired other people to get involved. You should walk the mama through it step by step. Hey, mama, we got this intel. It's not until the audio got leaked and people began to put pressure on Ocean Springs that they released a tip to TMZ like, hey, we have evidence that people seen Nolan on the island in the afternoon after 5, or I think 6 p.m. they said. So TMZ reported, there's evidence Nolan was on the island at 6. And then you scroll down to the bottom of the article and the evidence is, oh yeah, there's 2 people said they see Nolan. Okay, well, we have Nolan friends who are doing interviews on TikTok, right, saying how they believe these people are guilty and they believe people was washing blood off the boat or out the boat, according to the friend, or she implied that, I should say, because she says they was washing out the boat, right? One of the friends says they seen some of the boys and at a breakfast, and the boys told her, well, why would we be looking for him? Y'all already, expect us to killing him. That's before Nolan Wells' body was found. That's before the world knew he was dead, right? So if we can take the word of 2 people who quote unquote seen Nolan, even though again 2,000 people was on the island, y'all said 2 people who quote unquote seen Nolan at around 6 p.m. Okay, then how did Nolan Wells disappear? Then how did he die?
Right.
Okay, if y'all can take the words of those 2 people, then can we take the word of 2 of Nolan friends who are on TikTok accusing people in Ocean Springs of killing Nolan? Can we? Oh, yeah. So it's evidence if it's 2 random people, but it's not evidence if it's 2 of Nolan friends. You see how that works? You see how that don't make sense? And that's what we're talking about here, bro. Nothing about this makes sense whatsoever. If you guys have something, right, that paints a clear picture of how Nolan Wells died, shouldn't the mother be the first one y'all notify?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how you can justify that audio.
Can't. Not with someone in the background saying, is he dead?
Right.
Even if you were calling to say there was a fight, it sounds like you're looking at something that has already happened and you witnessed what happened and you're saying, did he die from what I just saw?
Right.
That's what you're saying. Oh, is he dead?
Mm.
Or what? Somebody walked you from around the park and said, hey, or around the other boat dock and say, hey, come look at this. No, you were there.
Right.
So if that video and audio is correct, it's a whole nother level of evidence that indicates culpability.
And just for clarity, what do you personally believe happened to Nolan Wells?
Well, what we're told is that he got on the boat with several white buddies in Mississippi, went to Fun Island, for lack of a better term, where everybody goes to this island to have fun on their boats. Overwhelmingly 90 to 100% white, 99.9 perhaps if you include Nolan.
Nah, that's
And
that's
his
a lot of people right
buddies
there.
say they left him there. He ends up dead. His buddies say we left him there and we told him to come, let's go. He refused to go. However, we had his phone, and you claim that everybody puts their phone away when they're on the island, and I don't believe that for 1 minute, that teenagers leave their phones for hours just because they're on.
Since when that happened? Teenagers leave. I have seen adults who don't leave their phone, who's super glued to their phone. Adults. You telling me teenagers that's in the party that don't have their phone on them, taking pictures, taking videos to put on Instagram, TikTok? No? Get out of here, bro. Get out of here with that, bro. I've worked at clubs with grown adults on their phone, taking pictures, going to Instagram to post them, or doing things with their phone, super glued to their phone the whole time, even though they paid to go to a club. And you telling me kids that's in the party on the island are not doing the same? Get out of here, man. Get out of here with that.
On the island. Then we have the young lady, Katie, who he allegedly stayed back to be with. Her sister says that they weren't spending a lot of time with Nolan and that they also left without Nolan, meaning they had seen Nolan go somewhere when they were leaving. Did he y'all just shake, hug, and walk away, and then someone saw him and said, hey, let's get with him because he kissing and hugging on that white woman and we don't play that and don't want to play that? Or is it, as I think it is, that they had something to do with his drowning?
Which, by the way, will make sense with the bruises in the back of the head, because it could be this. But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think, okay? So,
it could definitely be.
He just provided something very crucial, because even
it could definitely be a team effort, allegedly, but they didn't get their story right. They didn't get their story straight. Again, allegedly. I just need to keep saying that to make sure. Right? So it could definitely be something like that. Everybody was on board, something happened, or it could just been an accidental one where they got into some kind of fight, something happened. Either way you want to put it, I feel like they got something to do with it. Like at least they seen something, like something, because nobody's story is actually straight. Nobody's story is on the up and up. Everybody's story is protecting themselves, make it seem like they had nothing to do with Nolan at all. Meanwhile, they brought him to the island. It just didn't. It don't seem right. It don't fit. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I could put the other videos on this. Hold on.
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends, and I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me, and Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. You know, there's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you.
I'm not gonna lie. That description sounds generic. It sounds like something that you will rehearse. But since he is dead, right? It could be out of respect, you know what I'm saying? Where you're not really trying to pull out like the worst parts of him, right? You're gonna say things like he lights up the room, he was the best person, very kind, never had an argument with somebody. It doesn't sound like a real person you're describing though. You know what I'm saying? Um and because of that, it sounds a little bit iffy to me, but it could also be because he is not trying to, you know, give Nolan a bad name or like make him seem like worse or a worse person. And he's trying to pretty much share the good qualities, you know what I'm saying, of him and only the good qualities. But it does seem a little weird.
You
I
kind
mean, not weird, but you know, it seems a little bit, you know, generic.
of grew up together. Did you know his mom, or did you? How was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan, a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But
Hold on, bro. Hold on, man. First off, he never asked if you went to Nolan's house. Now, you not going to his house and you've been his best friend since 8th grade.
Right.
Like, that's weird. He asked,
Not only that, he said my friend group is tight knit. Normally, I would say if I have a best friend, I know his family members. I actually do have a best friend, which I not only went to his house, I had slept at his house before. I go to his house afternoon after school, right? I know his mom, right? I knew his brother. Like, you feel me? That's somebody that you know that's quote unquote your best friend. That's somebody, you know, that's quote unquote, you know, part of your tight knit circle. I'm just saying. You can't say you're best friends since certain grade and you know we tight knit, but I never spoke to his mom. I don't know his parents. I never rang his bell at least and said hi. Come on, dog.
have you ever met his mom? You said you and Nolan Wells have been best friends since middle school. Middle school is 7th grade for some and then 6th grade for others. So let's just say since the 6th grade, right? Because middle school starts at 6th grade for some people.
6 to
So
8.
you've been his friend since 6th grade. And you mean to tell me you never met his mom? How does that make sense?
Right.
So
right.
his middle school graduation, you never met his mom at the middle school graduation?
Right.
Oh, okay,
Right.
like that's
I never
weird.
said hello.
All right. You never met his mom at one of his football games that you attended because you're his best friend?
Right.
All right, that's weird. His mom never dropped him off at your crib?
Right.
All right, that's weird. You never
Or called to see if the son's at the crib, or make sure like their family knows you, or they had to connect to that family. So if they need you to come home like earlier, they could call. Like nothing. Do she even live in the neighborhood? Like what is going on? You never seen her in passing. You never like nothing. It's kind of crazy.
Went to go celebrate his birthday and his mom was there. So
Right.
Nolan never had a birthday party ever in life. So Nolan's never had no celebration ever in life that you was there to attend. All right, man. That's weird. Nolan, mom never dropped her off to, I don't know, man, to like the fair or something. So y'all been best friends since middle school, as early as maybe 6th grade, and you have not had an interaction with his mom ever? But that's your best friend, man. All right, man. Yo, listen, yo, when you started off like this, bruh, when you started off with this nonsense, what that tells me, it tells me particularly, yeah, you just talking. Like, you just yapping. Or you're trying to make y'all seem a tad bit closer than you guys actually are.
Yeah, right.
To
It sounds more like associates than best friend. Maybe like everybody's putting this best friend title. Maybe it's not best friend. Maybe we know each other. Maybe we're just chill. Like we hang out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not my best friend, because best friends, you had to come to my crib at some point, bro. Like, so especially if I knew you for so long, like when I'm not even old enough to be outside all the time. How are you not able to see my parents? If I have a birthday party, I can't just come to your crib. You gonna have to come to mine, or whatever event that I'm having. You had to see my mom, and I'll be like, "Hey, mom, this is my best friend. This is who I've been talking to you about. That I went to school since middle school with." Like nothing is kind of crazy. Nothing is crazy, bro.
to kind of say, hey, man, yo, that's my best friend, man. Why would I do such a thing? The funny part about it is the family ain't saying you did a goddamn thing. All they're saying is, yo, we just want an independent investigation. We just want to figure out what happened.
Right.
Right? Now,
Which they have a right to.
Yo, Brandon Tatum says that this interview had undoubtable evidence that Nolan Wells drowned and that these kids are innocent. But the evidence he provided is absolutely nothing. It's just, he said, she said. It's the same nonsense. For example, bro provided a footage of Nolan Wells' friends and Nolan, I guess, hopping on the boat and going to Horn Island together. And he's presenting this footage as exclusive footage that proves the truth. And I'm sitting there like, yo, this dummy, what? Yeah, we know that Nolan went to the Horn Island with them together. Yeah, that's the whole point. What are you talking about? Like, how does this footage prove anything?
Getting onto the boat, and they took 3 boats out. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Nolan and 4 boys. It was a multitude of people on several different boats. And some of the boys that they're accusing wasn't even on the boat that Nolan was on. But let me show you from the vantage point where I have the video to prove that I'm here where I say I am. And so right now, here's the angle that you're going to see on the footage. It's just from probably that boat to, maybe about 30, 40 feet here to the right. And this is where the video is showing how many people were actually out there, actually getting on the boats. So therefore it debunks very clearly that it was only Nolan and 4 boys.
Huh? Is this man slow? Yo, before I go in, can anybody confirm whether or not Officer Tatum has an intellectual disability? Because if he does, I don't want to go like too crazy on him, bruh. Right? What? this here debunks that he was only with the 4 friends on the boat. What? When was this ever a thing? When was this? No, the thing is, he was on the boat with friends.
Right.
And
In fact, to me, that makes it even worse. The fact that there's multiple of people and nobody is coming up or having a good story to kind of make sense with everything, it makes it even worse. Not gonna lie. Because the more people it is, the more easier it should have been to get an actual story of what happened that day. Because there's so much people. They have so many people, but nobody knows. Now it sounds a little iffy. You feel me?
we only got 4 names because those are the 4 names that apparently was at the house when the parents went to go pick up the phone. That's why we got the 4 names. And then there's pictures that surfaced of them together on the island. But the narrative has always been he was on a boat with friends. He was on the boat with friends. He went to the island with friends.
We're friends.
And he came, and those friends he went with, they said that he told them that he was gonna catch a ride and he was gonna talk to Katie. Katie says, I didn't hear that. No, he told me he was leaving to go with his friends. He went to the island with friends, and those friends came back with his phone, and he was not present. That's what we're talking about here, Tatum. How many friends was on the boat does not matter at all. It does not mean a goddamn thing. And whether there was 3 boats or 4 boats or 1 means nothing. Nolan was on one boat. And that boat had his phone. That boat had all his belongings.
Right.
And apparently when these friends told him, hey, bro, we leaving, he says, okay, you can leave. And they went and took his phone with them. He came with a group of friends. The group of friends came back safe, and Nolan Walsh was found dead. That's what we're talking about. What does any of this prove?
Right.
You think a debunking is proving, oh, by the way, you guys didn't know there's actually more co-conspirators. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Right.
Our bad. Instead of 4 suspects, we now got 8. Well,
Right.
Thank you, Tatum. Well, like, what are you talking about here, man? This right here, man. This is one of the nastiest things I've ever witnessed in life. Now, the friend told Tatum exactly why Nolan Walsh was left behind. And here's what he had to say. Now, mind you, this interaction you're about to hear, the girl Katie completely debunks it and contradicts it. Katie came out and says, no, Nolan told me he was going with his friends. They're saying they had an entire conversation with Nolan in front of Katie that Katie does not recall.
Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said,
how many people heard that? Were there
at least
just a
5
few,
everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. I mean, we had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do, you know? I mean, a lot of people do that. I could name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else.
The only problem with this is you are claiming a conversation, an entire conversation that was that notable, because you're claiming, y'all was screaming, it was urgent. Yo, Nolan, we about to leave. Yo, Nolan, come. And you claim this entire conversation happened in front of Katie. You saying Katie can attest for this. Katie told Nolan's family. Katie told investigators. She don't know what you're talking about. Katie told Nolan's family.
Not taking the fall for
again, and we've been through this already, that she was with Nolan, and Nolan told her that he was leaving abruptly, that he had to leave abruptly because he had to go with his friends. You claiming you had this entire conversation in front of Katie, and Nolan said he was going to stay with Katie, but then Katie says that's not what happened. No, we were talking and abruptly he had to leave. If you had this entire conversation in front of Katie and Katie was there, wouldn't Katie be able to say, oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, they did say they were leaving and Nolan chose to stay with me.
Right.
But that's not what happened.
It should be.
Katie don't recall this conversation. And you said we should ask Katie. So this right here is either you just got caught in a lie in 4K or Katie got caught in a lie in 4K.
Yeah, somebody.
But we're going to be reviewing it.
Somebody's definitely lying. Somebody's definitely lying. You know what I'm saying? He was with Katie. Yeah, I had called him. Katie should have been like, yeah, that happened. But Katie's saying no. He had to leave. And abruptly too, which is important because you also say that he had to leave abruptly. Because it was a problem. Something was going on. So he had to leave on the spot. So both sides are saying he had to leave on the spot. It's just both sides are saying not with me. You feel me? So somebody is definitely lying. And there's always truth in lies. So I'm guessing the leaving abruptly is the truth since both sides are saying it. But there is a lie. Somebody there is pointing the finger, and the other person is probably the victim of that finger pointing. Right? Before I thought it was like they didn't get their story straight, but now I'm thinking that one of them is trying to put the blame on the other. But everything is allegedly. Who knows what happened? Nobody knows about this case fully yet. So I'm not gonna be the one pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just going by what they're saying and how it doesn't make sense. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna leave it here. Tell me what you think about this case right now, man. Tell me what you think. I'm kind of late in the game. This are my first 2 videos about this case, so I heard of it before I seen videos, but I didn't get the chance to make it when it first came out. So my laptop was getting fixed. So I just decided not to talk about it, and then more stuff came out. So I'm like, let me just talk about it. I see these 2 videos just came out, so I'm like, all right, cool. Let me just say my piece. But I'll catch y'all on the next one, man.